Welcome to the Unlock 360 podcast, where education leaders share how they're turning vision into action, one system, one school, and one student at a time, because strong systems give every learner a better shot at success. Welcome back, everybody. Joining us today, we have Superintendent David Ritchey of Lamesa ISD. How you doing? Welcome, David.
I'm doing great. How are you today?
I'm good. And guess what? It's working. So for those of you tuning in, you may not know that we have had a host of technical challenges getting ready for today's show, but Superintendent Ritchey has been an outstanding sport and so gracious. Thank you.
We won. We beat technology.
We did. We hung in there and we overcame. So you know what? Let's start there. Speaking of technology, leading a small school district in rural Texas. Tell us about how you're innovating with technology in Lamesa.
I feel like we're ahead of the game out here. I've worked in 7 different districts, and when I was in Lamesa twice, I left Lamesa to go to Fort Worth Castleberry, which we talked about. And when I left, we were just becoming a MAC district.
Okay.
Now I went to Castleberry and we were PC, and I'm not going to lie to you, after a year of Mac, I became a Mac fan. And so when I came back as superintendent, we flooded the district with Macs. All of our kids now have iPads. All of our teachers have a computer and an iPad and an Apple TV. I am not a believer in teachers sitting. They know that about me. Funny story. Veronica Hernandez, whom I love to death. She is in her 4th year with us. Her first year here, she had taught somewhere where they just let them sit at their desks all the time. And I kept going in her room, telling her, I need you up and about, So finally she walked in one day and I had just come in the night and taken her chair. And I didn't put it back for a very long time, but now she never sits. I say all that to say the iPad and the Apple TV allow my teachers to do everything they could by standing at the desk or standing at the board or sitting at their desk by walking around the room. I'm a big believer in what we call the power zone, proximity control. And I wanted to put technology in the hands of my teachers that allowed them to be technologically savvy, but at the same time, didn't put them in a stationary spot. I don't think you can be effective by sitting in a stationary spot. So yeah, when we hire teachers from other districts, they're usually pretty, we don't lack for anything, I would say.
That's impressive. Yeah, I am so used to working in schools and districts that use Chromebooks, and there are a lot of challenges that can come with that. So for every kid has an iPad. Every
kid from pre-K to senior. Awesome. We actually let our seniors, if they meet certain requirements, attendance, GPA, discipline, we let them take them with them when they leave us.
Nice.
I just think it's something that if we can, those of ours that do go to college, if we can keep them from having to buy that one piece, and it already has all their stuff on it, so that's something that I like. And, we had 135 kids graduate and over 80 of them met the requirements. And so they're able to take it with them.
That's so cool.
Yeah, just lets them start off with not having to go figure that part out.
Yeah. I love that. Yeah, that is awesome. And, your story about taking her chair reminded me of my first year. So I started my teaching career in Lamesa ISD in the Houston area.
Yeah.
And then relocated to Southern California. And by that time I was late 20s and I had done too much high heel wearing. And so my feet were killing me one day and I just kicked the shoes off. And I was always up and about, up and around, and I had no shoes on. And in walks my principal and my superintendent. And I thought, I was so embarrassed and so afraid that I was going to get in trouble. And they said later they didn't even notice. So anyways, totally
that sounds
different.
like me. I am not a dress code watcher. And somebody will go in a room and they'll say, hey, did you see what so-and-so had on? And I'm, honestly, no. As long as there's good instruction going, they can mask their wardrobe if they're instructing well. I won't even notice it.
Yeah, and fortunately that was the case at the time, or at least they said. So I felt I felt lucky because I thought, oh no, here I am. I'm brand new. And they just came in and I don't have my shoes on.
Well, and you were like me. We used to teach in the time where, especially superintendent coming in the room, didn't happen a lot. Like, I'm not
Right.
going to lie. I hardly ever saw my superintendent. And usually if you were called to that office, it wasn't a good thing. And
Right.
like, we've changed that, not just in Lamesa, but a lot of, like we were talking about Rick and a lot of the people that I have tried to model myself after Super Bowl. Like, we're in rooms all the time. Like in Lamesa, I know everybody. They know me. They have my phone number. I mean, we're definitely a family-ish atmosphere, but they know I'm going to be in their room. I'm in rooms all day, every day. So they don't get worried about it anymore.
What are some of the exciting things that you see when you're out there visiting your classrooms? Like what gets you jazzed up when you're visiting the
kids? That's it for me. And I do love my adults. I was joking about Veronica. We are an hour away from Lubbock and an hour away from Midland. We're like right in the middle. And there's a lot of towns that are at 25 to 30 minutes. And for a long time, we would lose teachers because there's something about that extra 30 minutes. And so we started running, like I still run. I run 2 vans every single day from Lubbock to here full of teachers.
You do. I love this.
That way they don't have to drive. They don't have to, if they want to drive, they can, but they know there's 2 vans leaving Coles at 6 a.m. every morning. That way, if they want to sleep on the road, we got it. And I say that to say that was kind of the start of an influx of teachers from Lubbock. And, a lot of them have since bought homes here. Mm-hmm. A lot of them have moved here. But, I was joking about her, but I try to build relationships with these teachers and I love them. I love going in rooms. We get a lot of young teachers and seeing the growth. We have a lot of I guess what people would call initiatives going on, because when I took this role, my goal was to improve Tier 1 instruction. We'd spend so much of our energy on what do we do if they don't get it? And I was like, why do we spend so much time on that instead? Like, why don't we put our energy towards let's let them get it the first time?
I could not agree more.
And yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Like, let's get it right the first time. And you're right. Everyone is putting a lot of time, effort, energy into Tier 2 and Tier 3. And while those are important, not in the absence of best first instruction.
Well, if you fix your Tier 1, they become less important.
Mm-hmm.
And so to answer your original question, I get excited when I see my teachers being successful. I know I've got 1,503 kids and I know every one of them by their first name. I write them handwritten birthday cards. So that's what excites me. Like, I was on my elementary campus today and they were dancing in PE. So I just went in and danced with them for 20 minutes because I think it's important. In Lamesa, we're very low socioeconomic, very high at risk. And that's the only kind of district I've really ever worked in. They have to know the adults care about them. And that, to me, when I'm done, I hope people say, hey, man, he was great for Tier 1. He was great for academics. But more than anything, I need them to say, man, he loved our kids. That's what matters most to me.
Yeah, that's important. It's so important for the kids to feel safe and loved and know that, things may not be so great for them at home or, with their families. But when they step onto the campuses in our care, they need to know that we are there for them and that we care about them and their success. And David, you're reminding me, so I'll share for those of you watching, that when I saw that Superintendent Ritchey booked, to be on the show, I was so excited because I saw him on a friend of ours podcast, Dr. Rick Fernandez, and the Path Forward back in April. And when I saw that episode, I learned that David was at Castleberry ISD as a head football coach, correct?
Head
Athletic
football
director?
coach, yes.
And so I put 2 and 2 together, was thinking about, wait a second. Dylan Dutton, who is like an adopted brother to me, is like, wait, he would have been there around that time, and he played football. And let me just see. And sure enough, I didn't even have to show a picture. David remembers him.
No, oh yeah, I remember him. Dylan, and I said this, he could do a little bit of everything. He could throw it. I mean, I want to say we kind of just played. We played him at a little quarterback, little receiver, little defense. We played him everywhere. Great kid, great kid. It's good to hear he's doing good.
Yeah, he is a great kid, and he is doing great things. So, yeah, all right, okay. So back on track here. Talk to our listeners about maybe a recent initiative that has been very impactful in your district.
I think the biggest one we've done is our P-TECH. And at this point in Texas, P-TECH is starting to, when we first started it, at least in West Texas, I would say P-TECH, and nobody really knew what I was talking about.
I don't. So
it's pathways and technology in early college. And okay, so I grew up in Sweetwater, Texas, and 8 miles away was Roscoe. And Roscoe was the first early college that I really didn't even know what it was as a high school kid. And I was sitting around in my first year as superintendent late one night, my curriculum director and I, because we're like everybody, we're always trying to think, what are we not doing that we could do better? And we talked a little bit earlier about tier one. There was just a lot of things that we thought we could fix. And it dawned on me, you know what? I started thinking about Roscoe in that early college, because what they were able to pull off at Roscoe back then in the late 90s is their enrollment went up, their scores went up. This one little initiative kind of fixed a whole lot of things. And so I Google everything and realized that the guy that did that at Roscoe years ago coached for my father at Sweetwater, but now ran a big company that helped schools become P-TECH. So I just emailed him and he called me that night. And I say all that to say what P-TECH does is it is a way to get underserved communities. It gives their kids opportunities that they just wouldn't have otherwise, and often they don't know about. So what does that mean for us? I always say in Lamesa, Texas, the biggest night of the year is graduation night. It's packed. And I believed that we were not doing our job because that shouldn't be the biggest night of their lives. It should be an important night, but it should not be the pinnacle of our kids' lives. And I realized it was because we were basically preparing them to walk across the stage, but what were we preparing them to do after they walked across the stage? And so P-TECH allowed us to really focus on getting kids associate's degrees and getting kids industry-based certifications paid for by us. And so now we have a welding program, a cosmetology program, a 911 dispatch program, a culinary program, a construction program, a CNA, a phlebotomy. We have all of these programs, and no kid goes through our high school without leaving with a certificate. But then we're also, we've done a great job of hiring dual credit teachers. We also, a kid can graduate with their associate's degree completely paid for by Lamesa. And of course, the goal with that is for kids to graduate, walk off our stage, and have a path. You know, some people's path might be college. Well, we've already got them 2 years down the road and they don't owe anybody any money. Some people's path, some people's path might be in West Texas. We may go work for the oil field. Well, we've already got you these 2 welding certifications, or medical arts hospital. And so I do think we've gone a long ways in making sure that when our kids walk across the stage with that diploma, it's not the end, it's the beginning. And that's what excites me the most, because in the way I sold it, because I'm not going to lie to you, it was a hard sell, because a lot of people kept telling me, your kids can't do it. Your kids can't do it. Well, I'm the wrong person to tell that stuff to.
Yeah.
I think kids can do anything that adults hold them accountable to do.
Yeah.
And now people believe in it. And I told my board, it's not just going to change the lives of these kids. It's going to change this community, because they all come from homes where the parents, the grandparents, the teenage parents, they didn't go to college, but that doesn't mean you don't have to. But I don't even care if you go to college. You deserve the ticket to success.
You deserve opportunity. You
100%.
Deserve choice for an exciting future.
And that's our responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
And we, to me, had taken that responsibility lightly. And, so we just don't anymore. You walk across our stage with at the least an IBC that is tangible in the workforce. We work very closely with the workforce in Odessa, Midland, Lubbock, and Lamesa. We just want Lamesa kids to have the best chance at going away from us and being successful in life.
Yeah, good. It's really inspiring. I'm a first generation college graduate, and I think about like the opportunities that my family had and my cousins had, and they didn't have a whole lot of choices. I was really, really fortunate and very lucky to be able to have that experience. But my husband he was a welder, and then he was a hairstylist. So he has had a welding, certificate license and a cosmetology license, and now he's in construction work. So I appreciate what you all are doing for kids and giving them all these opportunities and choices for meaningful futures for themselves. So,
well, when I graduated Sweetwater, it was either college or other.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That other was not defined.
Mm-hmm.
It was just, we're going to turn you loose, and we've prepared you to maybe go be successful in college. If not, go get a job. And we just don't live in that world anymore. Not everybody's meant for college. And I mean,
right.
Let's be real. People can make just as much money. You can go in the welding field and make more than any teacher I got, And so I think we needed to drop the labels and drop the expectation of college, but make sure that we kept the expectation of contributing to society and being successful. That's the goal. Just like my own two kids, and Dylan knows my two kids. Dylan met my kids long ago. But everybody thinks I coached football for 14 years. I'm the son of a football coach. They think, well, my kids are going to play football. And I never pushed them to play football. I pushed them to be involved. That's it. And that's the same thing with graduation. I'm not pushing you to college. I'm not pushing you to welding field, but I'm pushing you to success.
Mm-hmm.
It's your choice which way you go, but you don't get to not go. You got to go one way or the other.
How do you all help them? How do you help your own children and the students that you serve in Lamesa? How do you help them decide or choose a pathway?
We start in 8th grade. And I mean, I don't know if you remember yourself during 8th grade, but I sure wasn't ready to make a life choice when I was in 8th grade.
Nope.
And so we do try to give them all of the, first off, we try to grow our programs every year to accommodate the interests we see. An example of that is our 911 dispatch. Like, that didn't exist. And I have a really good relationship with our police department, and that is a place they were lacking. And of course, we're a small, like you said at the beginning, we're a small community. If we cannot replenish our workforce with our own people, we're going to just dry up. And so we just started that program, and it's become something that our kids get very excited about, because they just hired one. One of mine graduated last year, and she just got hired as a full-time dispatch down here at the police department. But to answer that question, we get them on a path as a freshman, but we make sure after that, my high school counselor is one of my best friends, and she has constant conversations, because culinary might be what you think you want to do until you do it. And so, we try to allow that first year and a half for them to make the changes that they need to make, so that they're in a place that they're interested in being. Now, you get to that junior or senior year, we're not going to tell you can't change.
Mm-hmm.
It just becomes harder for you to finish, and you're going to have to finish. And that's my requirement as superintendent, is everybody finishes. I would rather you finish with something that you might not now think you want to do, because that becomes your fallback, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so,
Yeah.
like I have a kid that went through welding the whole time, but he got interested in culinary. Well, I told him, all right, well, I'm going to let you take culinary, but you're still going to get those welding certificates because you started that. And so and he did great. He's going to end up with both a culinary certificate and a welding certificate,
Thank
so
you.
I don't know. I go back to when I grew up in the home of teachers and I never knew there was an option. This was what I was always going to do. But I do think if I had even wanted to go a different path, I think I would have been persuaded to, whatever you do, you've got to go finish the first thing you do. You got to go finish that. That way you always have something to fall back on
Thank you.
that is valuable to your life and your livelihood.
Yeah, that's important. I'm thinking about my own path and how I set out to become a teacher, and about halfway through, I changed my mind because I started thinking, well, I don't want to feel like I have to depend on someone else, and I'm not sure. Like, I'm realizing what it costs to live, and I just don't know if I'm going to be able to make it. So I switched my major, ended up graduating with a business degree in marketing. And I wasn't happy. I got out there and, had a couple of positions and they just weren't fulfilling me. And so I thought, you know what? Other people do it. You can do it. You're going to go back, get your certification, do what you have to do and make it work because you've got to follow your heart. So I did that. And now it kind of has all come together because after, serving in the classroom in Houston and then in Southern California, that led me to instructional coaching and now systems coaching, working with districts and school sites. And then I founded my own business. And so it kind of like all ended up coming together. But I think, looking back, maybe I should have just stuck it out in the first place because, it costs money to go back.
It sounds to me like everything happened for a reason.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's also that is also another way to look at it.
Yeah. Like I'm 29 years in and like I'm kind of at that, like I'm kind of interested. Okay, so what broader impact can I have? Right. I love Lamesa and I love these kids, but I love the kids at Castleberry. I love the kids at Clyde, everywhere I've ever coached, and I've had the opportunity over the last 3 years to get to go speak to some staffs about, culture and trauma-informed strategies. And there's just something fun about knowing you're helping people help people.
Yeah.
And, it sounds to me like that's kind of what your business is at this point.
Yeah. It really is about, empowering teachers as leaders and developing teams, in a system. And that actually brings up a question for me. So how does Lamesa go about developing your leadership pipeline and empowering teachers as leaders?
Well, it didn't exist. I'm not going to lie to you, for the longest time. It felt like anytime a position opened, there was somebody else coming in from another. They would stay a year or 2 years and leave, and then somebody else would come in a year, 2 years and leave. Lamesa was seen as the stepping stone, not the foundation. And so, like I said, I spent 23 years in coaching, and at Castleberry, we were doing good, and just at some point decided, I'm spending all of my time with all these other kids, and I have my own two sons that are kind of getting the short end of the stick. And I decided to stop coaching because coaching 7 days a week. It's Sunday, Saturday, it's all the time. And so I came back to Lamesa because they hired me, Wendy, to be the administrator at our DAP /LSA. 40 kids that the high school didn't want. Anytime they had a kid get in trouble, they'd send them to Ritchey. And I just fell in love with those kids.
Yeah.
And so I stayed there for a year and did a good enough job that when an elementary job opened, they moved me over there. So for the next 4 years, I watched my assistant principal, and I realized if I ever become superintendent, she knows everything about curriculum. There's my curriculum director. I had time at the middle school as an assistant principal, and there was a DIAG there that was already, in my opinion, doing the job of a special education director. And I thought, man, if I ever become superintendent, there's my SPED director. And that, I never knew if that would come to fruition, but it did. And so I moved up the ladder, and as I moved, I brought them with me. And now that entire central office is people I've been in Lamesa 11 years with the break in between, but my curriculum director's 23 years Lamesa, my SPED director's 19 years Lamesa. My entire back office are Lamesa graduates. And, now we're to a point, we work with Lubbock Christian, and I send teachers every year to a leadership training that lasts all year. They have to do a project trying to make sure that whenever I will have a principal's job come open at my North Elementary, probably in the next 2 years. I already know who that replacement is going to be, because there's someone that's been teaching for us. They've been getting their masters, and we started letting people that were interested in leadership kind of lead our summer schools, because that's kind of the stress-free entry-level way to do it. And, now I think people come here, we go to job fairs. I am the recruiter. And I tell people, if you come here and commit to Lamesa, if your goal is to be curriculum director, we're going to help you become a curriculum director. If your goal is to be an AP, we're going to help you become an AP, hopefully for us. But at the very least, we're going to help you, because I have learned that when you invest in people, they tend to return that investment. And even some people that have left, like I literally had one that left because I didn't have a principal's job. He went to Lubbock. The very next year I had a principal's job, and guess who applied, and guess who I hired? I got him right back. And it was even better because now he'd had experience at another school that he could bring back to this. So yeah, I think we just really try to invest in our people. And when we recruit people, we let them know, I might be hiring you to be a kindergarten teacher today, but if your aspirations are bigger than that, we're going to help you reach those aspirations. And hopefully those aspirations will transfer to you doing those here. And it's worked out really well for us so far.
Yeah, that's good. And I like your perspective on, and if someone does step away and then they come back, they just are even more powerful because they
Absolutely
have a set of experiences. So that's fantastic. Good to hear that you all are doing that. One of the things that you mentioned reminded me of something we talked about previously, I think on the actual good recording that should be working out, about tier 1 instruction. How do you and your team lead the continuous improvement of literacy and mathematics and tier 1 instruction in the classrooms?
Okay, so I mentioned initiatives earlier.
Yes.
I have a really good relationship with my service center, and they know anytime that they are going to try something new. I think it's a running joke now. Let's call Ritchey, because I'm always interested. And so tier 1 was something that we all knew we had to attack. I mentioned earlier, we'd spent so much time on tier 2, tier 3 that it was just almost like we're crying uncle. Mm-hmm. Tier 1's not going to work. So a lot of things, when I first became superintendent and those people I mentioned came with me, the very first thing we did was lay out everything that we were doing from pre-K to 12th grade in all subject levels. And we realized, like, some of our grade levels might have 2 or 3 different resources they're pulling from. Okay, well, that's great if you're an experienced teacher, but if you're not, it's too much because you become unfocused, right? But the other problem with that, there had never been anybody say, all right, we are using this, like the Bluebonnet, right? Now, whether people are a fan of Bluebonnet or not a fan, it to me is irrelevant. I believe everything works if you do it consistently and with fidelity. I tell people all the time, if you come in and are chaos as a teacher every day, you are creating chaos. That's what you have chosen to create. But if you come in and create structure every day, then you are going to create structure because that's what you've chosen to create. So we looked at all of our resources and we met with teachers. It was not a top-down decision, but we picked one curriculum for everybody and we threw everything else in the trash because at the very least we knew the consistency was not there and it needed to be there. And then I called up to the service center, and they have like right now we're doing Texas instructional leadership and Texas strategic leadership, 2 initiatives all geared towards the same thing. And we did not, in my opinion, our classrooms were not very structured. Now we're structured from pre-K to 12th grade. There's mandatory seating charts, mandatory social contracts. From pre-K to 12th grade, every one of our teachers are going to line their kids up outside of the room in a single file line, and then they're going to bring them in and they're going to greet every one of them. And you're going to sit down and you're going to start with a bell ringer. I mean, we have structured everything because our teachers might not stay the same, but I needed my kids to be able to walk into environments that did stay the same. And so I decided rather than cater around teachers that come and go, we're going to cater around the kids. And if you come to work for us, you got to be able to do these things. And if you'll do these things, you're going to be successful because it's already proven that it will work. And so, through the structures, and then the Texas strategic leadership is completely about training your administrators to be good coaches of teachers.
Okay.
And so they come with us twice a month. And the service center comes out here and they do walkthroughs with all of us, with the principals, with me, with my assistants. And then we talk through, all right, how are we going to coach that teacher to be a better tier 1 instructor? And then I sit in the room while my principals have that conversation. And then I coach the principals to coach the teachers. And I'm learning how to be better while I help my principals be better, while they help their teachers be better. And so we've already seen a ton of progress. We went from 0 TIA teachers to 15,
nice.
Several at master's level. And I mean, I know you know this, but at master's level TIA, you can make $100,000 in a rural district because, and so that has started to attract people. And just the constant support. Right before we got on, I was reading on LinkedIn about a teacher that just said, I don't need more money. I need someone to help me. Mm-hmm. And that's how we sell our district. Like, we're going to help. And if I don't have the answer, I'm going to go find somebody that does. And if I have a teacher that's struggling with A, I'm going to get them a sub for a day because I've got ABC teachers that are good at that. So we're going to go let you watch them, and then we'll let them come watch you. And we just our goal is to help everybody. And so I do think it has helped. Are we there yet? No. Are we way better than we were 3 years ago? Absolutely. Our retainment rate of teachers has drastically gone up. 2 years ago in July, I still had 23 spots to hire. This July, I had 0. And I think there's a reason for that. Yeah. Right. And I think I tell people all the time, it's not my charming personality. I've never changed. I was the same when we needed 18 people. But I think what's changed is that when we say we're going to support and mentor and be in your room and model, we mean it.
And give you a ride to and from work.
Like we mean it. And there's no one can come to our district and say we don't. Like, you can come one day around me and you'll be like, oh crap, he's exactly who he says he is. And I'll teach a class in a heartbeat, if I need to do it. Like, I walk in a kindergarten room, we made this huge mistake. And I know I tell stories, I apologize.
No, I love it. Keep them coming.
We underestimated our kindergarten enrollment. And, so we knew we were going to have bigger class sizes, but we were going to give every kindergarten teacher a full-time TA all day long. Well, my vision was co-teaching, centers, stations. Well, I mean, I did not anticipate 28 kindergarten kids that we didn't have enrolled. And so people are always like, we're not going to go to Ritchey with problems because I'm always trying to fix things. But I go in a kindergarten class and I mean, there's 29 kindergarten kids in here. And this is a first year teacher that I went to get. And I'm like, if I'm her, I'm not staying.
Yeah.
Right. And so literally we left that day. I pulled all of them in and I said, we will have help. This was on a Thursday. I said, we will have help by Monday. And that might be short-term help, but we will get long-term help. And by Monday, one of my administrators had volunteered. They were going to teach the class until we could hire one. And we got one hired. and we made the classes smaller and more manageable. And I think I say that to say I've worked for people that would see that, act like they don't see that, go out, close the door, and go back to their office where kids aren't at and not be bothered. And that's not us. We're going to do anything we can to make it. It's hard enough. You know this. You taught. It's hard. It's hard enough. And that's what I tell people all the time. If you've never taught, don't tell me how hard it is until you've actually done it. It doesn't have to be any harder. So whatever we can do to help you be successful, we're going to bend over backwards to do.
That's how it should be. But you're right. It's not like that everywhere.
Absolutely not. Yeah.
Yeah. And so speaking of that, we're going to start to wrap up here. Where can someone go if they are looking for a new district to call home, or, the place that they want to be a part of a family? And
okay, so it's funny you ask that, because I was going to give you the official answer and tell you to go to our website.
Okay.
My website guy is awesome. His name is Frankie Sauceda, but you can look me up on LinkedIn and just message me, and I'm probably going to call you. But if you ever want a kick, Wendy, go to our website, and at the very top, I'm looking at it right now, at the very top of our website, underneath it says Golden Tornado Hotline, employment and enrollment information. And if you call that number, you are going to hear me. And it was just, I don't sleep much. And late one night, do you remember watching TVs and the 1-900 numbers coming on and, selling things? And so I just was like, why not put one of those on there? So if anybody wants to know anything about Lamesa, they can just get on our website and call that number. And it basically is an introduction to who I am and who we are as a district. And from there, it tells you how to get a hold of us further if this is a place that you want to come.
It's so funny that you're sharing that, because I, looking at your website before our interview today, I noticed that and I thought, that's interesting. I haven't seen a hotline.
Yeah, it's exactly what it is. And it was funny off the record. Well, not off the record, but when I first did it, people make fun of my voice, and I had to play with the initials because there's only so many numbers that are available, right? And I wanted it to mean something, and you can see what it means. But the original one, all I could make it mean was Tor love. And so when you called it, it was like, this is David Ritchey. Welcome to Tor love. And they were like, Ritchey, you got to change that.
Yeah, this is not going to work.
So yeah, it's a lot better now.
Yeah, it is. It is. And it caught my attention right away. So, that's funny. That I love that. Thank you so much, Superintendent Ritchey. It has been a pleasure, getting to know you a little bit and having you on the show. And again, I appreciate your, patience with the technology challenges that we had before we could get going here. So
no, you've been great. I'd love to be on again. Anytime you need to hear more stories, holler at me and I'll be here.
I'm going to hold you to it. I'll have you back soon. Thank you
so much.
Yeah. And thanks everybody for tuning in. We'll see you next time. Thank you for listening to the Unlock 360 podcast. Follow us on LinkedIn and YouTube, and visit leadteachlearn360.com to learn more about us, because every school deserves systems that work and leaders who can make them thrive.